Hello YouTube. So I had quite a few people express the interest in how I did the air conditioning in my 86 Toyota pickup here, because the system that I have in here and the way it's set up will, on a 88 degree day with 70% humidity, was producing 36 degree air at the vents just sitting idling in my driveway right here. And the factory Toyota system running R134A, you'll get like 60 degree air at best under the same circumstances. So here's what I did. So we'll start on the inside and move around outside here. So this, hands down, is the hardest to find part for this AC system. This right in here is the evaporator assembly. And on these trucks, to install air conditioning, you just gotta drop the glove box and shove it in. Well, you gotta drill holes in the firewall, but there's actual little indents in the firewall to center your drill bit to drill them, so it's really easy to do. But this is an aftermarket style evaporator assembly that is designed for basically if you have a non-AC truck to add it. It has standard size fittings on the firewall. I paid around $300 for this a couple years ago, but the place that I bought it from now says it's $600 and they don't have any more. So I'm assuming I bought the last one, and for some reason they updated the price, but they don't have any. On the website, ackits.com lists one. I think it's about $400, and I don't know how many more of those they have, but anyways, here's kind of how I wired it. So I believe this is the positive side off of the switch. Actually, no, this is the ground. So I have one relay up here, and it's just screwed in place here. And if you kind of look at the diagram here, you'll see that 30 and 87 are where it controls the coil, and 85 and 86. 85 has, wait, no, I got this backwards. 30 and 87, that is what the relay actually switches on. So I have power coming into 30, and then 87 is the AC compressor clutch. And 85 and 86, it's the coil that pulls in the relay to engage the compressor clutch. I believe that I have the pressure switch on the ground side of the coil. So 86, it goes from ground one side through the pressure switch. So as long as the pressure is not too high or low on the high side, it'll allow it to engage. Then the other side, that's where I have power coming from the AC button on the dash. So, it actually powers it. Well, it also, the powered side runs through the thermistor, which is there on top. That's what this wire is. So power comes in, goes in through the thermistor, and then you get the black wire, and that's how it works. Basically, you make sure that for the AC compressor clutch to engage, you have to have an evaporator temperature that is 36 degrees or higher, and your pressure cutoff switch, it can't be above, like, I think 300 psi. It has to be above, like, I think 50 for it to engage. So that's the wiring. It is very, very simple. There's very little to wiring here. And it's the evaporator assembly. So under the hood, going from the suction side in, I just have a standard line here with a service port down there, which is a hell of a lot easier than the factory Toyota location. It runs into a stand-in SD508 series compressor. I went on eBay, looked for just a generic, new old stock, new in box compressor. Found this one for like $75. There's different versions of them, but this is what I got. And compressor's down there. Let's see. The back side of it, and it's mounted on a aftermarket AC style compressor bracket assembly, which these are a huge nightmare to find new. Actually get a better view of one, because I actually have two of these. These are a huge pain in the ass to find because they're only used on aftermarket AC systems. This one has pretty much the same compressor, but this one's older. But you can see this is the bracket here. And also, this tensioner pulley is a hell of a lot easier to get to on these versus the Toyota one, because the Toyota one has a bolt that points down towards the frame and has a bitch to tighten, at least on the two-wheel drives. This is a four-wheel drive now, so I don't think the clearance is as bad. But on two-wheel drives, they really suck because the bolt's pointed in a bad spot. Yeah, these aren't as bad. That brace isn't there. But, coming out on the discharge side here, we got discharge hose, which I made here. And I actually ran into this is an aluminum piece. It was sold by, I'm trying to remember who the fuck made it. I think it was Vintage Air. Basically, I filled it up with sand so you don't crush it, and then bent it in the shape I wanted, and then it went into the condenser. This right here is probably the thing that makes the biggest difference on AC performance compared to the factory setup and most aftermarket AC setups. There are three different types of condenser styles. There is a tube and fin, a serpentine, and then a parallel flow condenser. I actually have examples of all of them in various places. So we'll start off with the least efficient style, at least for R134A and comparable refrigerants. That would be a tube and fin condenser. those are usually, well, they're still used on like central AC systems, but in automotive applications they have been phased out, like in the 90s. Early 2000s, a couple of cars still had them. I think there's one in here somewhere, but basically, here, I'll just show you one on a central AC unit. Can't see it too well, but the way these are set up, you actually have copper coils that run through here, and then the aluminum fins go over it, and that's how they work. Really, the only advantage of these is if you grenade a compressor, you can flush it and reuse the condenser, because you can actually flush all the garbage out of it, because they have large passages. However, since the passages are so large, they're not very efficient at removing heat from the condenser, because that's how AC systems work. It actually removes the heat from inside of your cabin and puts it into the condenser from the engine. So here's the other style. This is the style that Toyota used from the factory on pretty much every car up into, I think, about the mid-2000s when they stopped using these. These condensers work better, but they're still pretty mediocre. This is called a Serpentine condenser. This one is super thick because it's only this wide. But basically, if you look, it just makes a big kind of S pattern all the way to the bottom. And that's where it comes out, is the bottom. There's a tube down there. It's kind of hard to see. But these have, I think this one has a row of about 8 different small passages along here. They work better at transferring heat, but they're still not great. This is pretty much how a factory Toyota system set up. This is actually a untouched functional R12 system, which there's not many of those around, but these condensers, they work okay with R12, but they are absolute garbage with R134A. They do not perform to what my expectations would be. And then we have the parallel flow condenser. These are what are used on brand new cars. These have super small passages, and one of the quickest ways to tell you have a parallel flow condenser is both the ports are on the same side. That's the liquid line, which is the out, and this is the compressor discharge hose, and that's the in. And there's basically these tanks here on the side, and that's how these work. These have super tiny passages, and they're very efficient at removing heat, and they're the standard. One of these condensers, I can't remember the dimensions of this one, it was one of the smaller ones made. It was like $40. They're not expensive. It's a universal part. I put it in here because it works a hell of a lot better than the factory condenser. And this is standard size AC fittings on here, so you can make hoses for them. And for all the hoses, I didn't pay anyone to do them. I just spent the, I think it was like $150 for the AC hose crimp tool from Mastercool and made all my own hoses, which is nice because Tercel don't make a new one. I had to make one for it. So there's that, and that comes through on the discharge side. This is liquid line to the dryer. It's the universal part. It's where the high pressure cutoff switch is, and the high side service port was built into the dryer, so less places for leaks. And then it goes into the evaporator assembly down there. That completes the system. And go ahead and start the truck here, as long as it behaves, because the stupid relay on the firewall likes to get flaky. I'll show it in action, and taking it out of gear would be a good idea too. Good, it's behaving itself. Now this drivetrain came out of an 88 pickup. This is technically an 86. And the 88 was a factory, not AC truck. The only option it had was power steering. They didn't have a radio. To make the AC idle up work, and that's what increases the idle of the AC when it's running, because if you disconnect this, you can kind of hear it. Drops down. But it'll kick the idle up. You need this valve right here with the screw. That controls how high your idle is, or that'll increase the idle when your AC kicks on. There's this little valve over here, and when the compressor, I have it wired up so when the compressor kicks on, it engages that vacuum switching valve, kicks the idle up. So it'll pull a little bit extra air through the condenser when the AC is running. But if you watch over here, there's actually a sight glass. And this one, you can see, is nice and clear. That's how you want to see your AC system work. And this line here will be hot, it's a little warm. And then that one will be cold. And in here, nice cold air. If you watch this thermometer, it will drop. It's not going to drop super fast because, well, I just shut off the blower fan, see the evaporator temperature will drop, but it works real good. Anyways though, this is a pretty long video, but hopefully this kind of gives, well, this kind of shows how I did the AC in this. Hopefully someone will find it useful.